Hello, this is Sal. In today's practice lab, we will be talking about configuring stateless and stateful DHCP version 6. The dynamic assignment of IP version 6 global unicast addresses can be configured in three ways. The first way is stateless address auto-configuration, SLAAC, SLAAC only, Stateless Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol for IP version 6, DHCP version 6, and the third one is Stateful DHCP version 6. Now, on the description of this video, you will find two files, one for the packet tracer source files and the document to walk you through the lab step by step until you finally will be able to verify the configurations you did during this lab. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel and recommend it to your friends and share it and give me the thumb up. And please, let me know if you have any suggestions, comments, or questions. I will gladly answer you back. Now, with the SLAAC, SLAAC, a DHCP version 6 server is not needed for hosts to acquire IP version 6 addresses. It can be used to receive additional information that the host needs, such as the domain name and the domain name server DNS address. When SLAAC is used to assign the IP version 6 addresses and DHCP version 6 is used to assign other network parameters, it is called stateless DHCP version 6. Now, with stateful DHCP version 6, the DHCP server assigns all information, including the host IP version 6 address. Determination of how hosts obtain their dynamic IP version 6 addressing information is dependent on flag settings contained within the router advertisement, RA messages. In today's practice lab, we will initially configure the network to use SLAAC. After connectivity has been verified, we will configure the DHCP version 6 settings and change the network to use stateless DHCP version 6. After verification that stateless DHCP version 6 is functioning correctly, we will change the configuration on router 1 to use stateful DHCP version 6. Now, I'll have a side note here. The default BIOS template, which is used by SDM, which stands for Switch Database Manager, does not provide IP version 6 address capabilities. I will verify that SDM is using either the dual IP version 4 and IP version 6 template or LAN-based routing template. The new template will be used after reboot even if the config is not saved. Now, I'll do the configuration on switch 1. Enable configure terminal. We'll give it the host name as W1 and now I will run this show command, show SDM preferred. As you can see here, it's showing us only capabilities for IP version 4. So, as we noticed that it's not supporting IP version 6, and we will work on that simply by typing configuring terminal SDM preferred dual IP version 4 and IP version 6, and we want this to be the default on the switch. Now we type end here and then reload the switch, yes, and we will confirm. We'll give it a minute until it's done reloading. Now enable the command again, show SDM, which stands for Switch Database Manager. prefer. And as you can see here, it's supporting both IP version 4 and IP version 6. Now, I will configure router 1. Let me shrink this a little bit to router 1. Enable, configure terminal, give it a host name router 1. And I will enable IP version 6 unicast routing on router 1. IPv6 unicast routing. Now I will assign the IP version 6 unicast address. Here we'll assign this IP address here on gigabit 01. So the command goes like this: interface gig 0/1 IP version 6 address 2001 colon db8 colon abcd colon a colon 1 /64. Now I will assign the FE80 colon 1 as the IP version 6 link local address for interface gigabit Ethernet 01. The command goes like this: IP version 6 address FE80 colon 1 link local. Enter and enable the port with no shut. Next, I will verify that router 1 is part of the all router multicast group. I will use the show command, which is show IP version 6 interface gig 0/1 to verify that gig 01 is part of all router multicast group FF02 colon 2. RA, which stands for router advertisement, messages are not sent out gigabit 01 without that group assignment. So now on router 1, I'll type end here, not end, sorry about that. End. Show IP version 6 interface gig 0/1, and as you can see here, it's showing us it's part of the group. Now I'll shrink this back again so we can see. As we notice that the IP version 6 address of gigabit Ethernet 0/1 is within the joint group addresses. Next, I will configure switch 1 and I will use the IP version 6 address autoconfig command on VLAN 1 to obtain an IP version 6 address through Slack. So back to switch 1, configure terminal, enter VLAN 1, IP version 6 address. We want to have the options here, but we want to use the auto config and then activate it with no shut. Now I will want to use this show command, show IP version 6 interface. As you can see here, we have IP version 6 is enabled on the switch for VLAN 1, and this is the link local address, and this is the IP address for VLAN 1 on switch 1. Next, I will verify that Slack provided IP version 6 address information on PCA. I will do this from the command prompt on PCA. I will issue the command IP version 6 config /all. So now on PCA, I will click on the PC icon. Then the desktop tab, the IP configuration, And then under IPv6 configuration section, which is this section here, I will click on the auto config button here. And as you can see, we received an IP address, and this is the link local address, and the gateway, which is the link local on router 1. So now I will, from the command prompt, I will issue this command IP version 6 config space /all. I'll expand this a little bit because the font I configured it on my is big. Here the physical address, which is the MAC address, the link local address, and this is the IP address, which is for PCA, and this is the default gateway, and we still did not configure the DNS server or the domain name. Now I will configure the network for stateless DHCP version 6 on router 1. First, I will create an IP version 6 DHCP pool. So back to router 1, the command goes like this: config terminal IP version 6 DHCP pool. I will simply call it IP version 6 pool -a. Now I will assign a domain name to the pool. Simply type domain name ccna-stateless.com. Now I will assign a DNS server address. Here if you type a question mark, and this is what we are configuring here. As for the DNS server, 2001 DBA ABCD A space and enter. Now we are done. I will exit from here. Next, I will assign the DHCP version 6 pool to the interface on router 1. We configure the pool, the DNS server. Now I will configure it on the interface. So simply type interface gig 01. Now IP version 6 DHCP server. Want to get the IP here from the IP version 6 pool -a. Enter. Now I will set the DHCP version 6 network discovery, which stands for ND, and other -config -flag. Now, IP version 6 ND network discovery, and the options here either manage config flag or other config, which we will use other config flag. Enter, and then type end. Next, I will verify DHCP version 6 settings on interface gig 01 on router 1. I will use the show command, which is show IP version 6 interface gig 0/1, to verify that the interface is now part of the IP version 6 multicast all DHCP version 6 servers group, which is FF02::1:2. Notice the last line of the output from the show command verifies that the other config flag has been set. So on router 1, show IP version 6 interface on gig 01, and here it is. IP version 6 is enabled. This is up, line protocol is up, IP version 6 is enabled. This is the link local, and no virtual link local addresses. The global unicast addresses, this is for the interface on this subnet, and it joined the group, and notice this here. And the last hosts are stateless autoconfig for the addresses. Now I will view network changes to PCA. I will use the command ipv6 config all to review the network changes. Notice that the additional information, including the domain name and DNS server information, has been retrieved from the DHCP version 6 server. However, the IP version 6 global unicast and link local addresses were obtained previously from Slack. Now on PCA, on the desktop tab, which is we have it, click on the desktop tab. I will click on the IP configuration icon, then under section for IP version 6 configuration, I will click first on static and then go back to auto config. And as you can see, it received its, this is for the DNS server, which we configured, and this is for the gateway, and this is the IP address. Now it received after we configured the stateless. Now on, I will go to the command prompt. This is what we saw before here. No DNS server still, but now if I type the command ipconfig all, now we can see the DNS server we configured. Now I will verify that PCA did not obtain its IP version 6 address from a DHCP server. I will use the show command, show IP version 6 DHCP binding, and another show command, which is IP version 6 DHCP pool, to verify that PCA did not obtain an IP version 6 address from the DHCP version 6 pool. Now on router 1, I will type this command, show IP version 6 DHCP binding, and the other command, I show IP version 6 DHCP pool. It is telling us this is the pool, the name of the pool which we configured, the DNS server we configured here, and the domain name CCNA stateless, and active clients 0, which means the PCA did not get its IP version 6 address from the DHCP server. Next, I will reset PCA IP version 6 network settings. I will do that by shutting down or disabling the port F06 on the switch, which is connecting the PC to the switch. So on switch A, config terminal, interface for F06, simply type shut. So we shut down the port connecting the PC to the switch. Next, I will configure the network for stateful DHCP version 6. First, I will change the DHCP version 6 pool on router 1. So back to router 1, configure terminal, IP version 6, DHCP pool, IPv6 pool -B. Enter. Now for the address prefix 2001 colon DBA colon ABCD colon A colon /64. For the DNS server 2001 colon DB8 colon ABCD colon B colon face. Enter. Next, I need to change the domain name to CCNA. It's stateful.com, but first I must remove the old domain name. It wouldn't be replaced by the domain name command. So on router 1, no domain name ccna-stateless.com. Now we want the domain name to be ccna-stateful.com. And next, I will verify the DHCP version 6 settings on router 1. So on router 1, I will simply type show IP version 6 DHCP pool. What we configured for the domain name, stateful, and for the DNS server, and still active client 0. So next, I will set the flag on the port gig 0/1 for stateful DHCP version 6. Now we have a side note here. Shutting down the gig 01 interface before making changes ensures that an RA, which stands for router advertisement message, is sent when the interface is activated. So now on router 1, configure terminal for the interface of gig 01. I will shut this down first. Now IP version 6 DHCP server, which we configured it as IP version 6 pool-B. Now IP version 6 and the network discovery. Now we will use manage config flag. Enter. Now I will open the port or activate it with no shut. Enter. And then type end. Next, I will enable the interface of 06 on switch 1. Now that router 1 has been configured for stateful DHCP version 6, we can reconnect PC A to the network by activating interface F06 on switch 1. So back to switch 1. Just no shut. Next, I will verify stateful DHCP version 6 settings on router 1. I will issue the show command, show IP version 6 interface gig 01 to verify that the interface is in stateful DHCP version 6 mode. So now on router 1, go back to router 1. I'll type the command show IP version 6 interface gig 01. And this is as for a bug on packet tracer is still not showing us that it is a stateful. But now on the PC, I will go to the IP configuration. And as you can see here, it's receiving the IP address from the DHCP server on the PC. Next, I will issue the command show IP version 6 DHCP pool on the router. But as I said, IP version 6 DHCP spool, it's showing us the DNS server. We configured, it shows the domain name, but it's still showing us the active client is 0. This is nothing wrong with the configuration we did. You know, we are supposed to type the no auto config when we configuring the stateful for IP version 6, but because of a bug in packet tracer, we are not allowed even to enter this command. But as you can see, everything we configured the DNS server as we configured it here, and the domain name ccna-stateful.com, and this the active client, this should be 1, that we have PCA, and PCA is receiving its IP address from the DHCP server as a stateful IP version 6. Now I have questions. What IP version 6 addressing method uses more memory resources on the router configured as a DHCP version 6 server? Stateless DHCP version 6 or stateful DHCP version 6? And the answer is the stateful DHCP version. The stateful DHCP uses more memory resources, as the stateful DHCP version 6 requires the router to store dynamic state information about DHCP version 6 clients. Stateless DHCP version 6 clients do not use the DHCP server to obtain address information, so this information does not use to be stored. Another question: which type of dynamic IP version 6 address assignment is recommended by Cisco? Stateless DHCP version 6 or stateful DHCP version 6? And the answer: Cisco recommends stateless DHCP version 6 when implementing and deploying IP version 6 networks without Cisco Network Register, CNR. And we reached the end of this practice lab. Thank you so much for watching. And as I said, if you go to the description of this video, download the 2 files and do the steps I did through this configuration. And don't mind the last step, because nothing wrong with our configuration except that there is a bug in the packet tracer. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in my next video.